A woman has lost a £650,000 injury claim after the court discovered she'd taken part in a Christmas tree throwing competition. And I know I've said this before, but I really do think this is maybe my favourite story we've ever covered on Scroll Deep. This is Scroll Deep, by the way, the show that keeps up with internet nonsense so you don't have to. I'm Benefits Townsend. So this all took place in Ireland. This woman, Kamila Grabska, she claimed that after a car accident in 2017, she was left in a, quote, disabling position, no longer able to work, no longer able to play with her kids or lift heavy bags. She couldn't do anything. Very sad. So she was suing an insurance company for £650,000. It's about $800,000 because of these apparent injuries to her neck and her back. And you may say, what's the money for? But it's to make up for past and future earnings, because she's saying, look, I'm never going to be able to work again. I'm going to need this money to live the rest of my life. And at the time, she also quit her job and she was claiming benefits. She said that at times she had to stay in bed for like most of the day. Her husband had to bring her medication. Very sad state of affairs. Unfortunately, there was a small snag in the case. As it turns out, she took part in a Christmas tree throwing competition in 2018, 1 year after her accident. And not only that, she won the competition. So, first of all, apparently there's Christmas tree throwing competitions in Ireland. Who knew? And apparently she was so good at throwing them that she literally won. The judge in the case in the Irish High Court said, quote, "It is a very large, natural Christmas tree, and it is being thrown by her in a very agile movement. I'm afraid I cannot but conclude the claims were entirely exaggerated. On that basis, I propose to dismiss the claim." She argued that she was still injured despite this, but apparently she went to doctors with the injury claims. If you look at the timeline, 2 months after she won this Christmas tree throwing competition. So maybe the Christmas tree throwing was what injured her, who knows? And I feel like every so often you get a story like this. There was one back in 2011 of a woman who was claiming full disability, and then they found out she went to a water park. They're always doing the absolute most. It's never like, oh, they saw her walking the dog. It's always like a water park. There was another guy last year who claimed like tens of thousands in disability, and he was in Florida, and he went on a 90-foot water slide. There was another guy who claimed, I think, 80K, and he was riding an elephant. And it's just so wild. And the reactions online have been very wide-ranging and very funny. One person says, "The devil works hard, but insurance defense attorneys work harder." Very true. Another person said, "I used to work in the fraud detection team for an insurance company, and this kind of shit was the stuff that kept me going in that job. I just love the drama." I mean, can you imagine the day? Because also, by the way, these Christmas tree throwing things, they weren't found in some safe somewhere. They were published in a local paper at the time. She like posed for these photos. Look at the composition of this Christmas tree throwing photo. Like it's a beautiful photo. Can you imagine the day one of those lawyers strolled into the office and was like, bam, she's been throwing Christmas trees. It must have been like Christmas for them. Another tweet said, "I defended a claim like this once and found out the plaintiff was rodeoing on the side. I subscribed to an on-demand rodeo streaming service and recorded this man winning the whole thing in Vegas and taking home a huge cash prize. He's a hell of a roper." The thing is, you gotta say, if he's winning that, it can't exactly be his first rodeo. And then someone very simply said, "Christmas tree throwing, the whitest shit ever," which I think correct. I don't know what else there could physically be. But jokes aside, there's also been, interesting other reactions. This one person said, quote, "I know nothing beyond what is written below," which was just like the headline. "But as a disabled person, I can assure you that a single day/event when one is actually able to live or appear well does not mean that a person isn't disabled or actually able to perform all aspects of their job." Now, look, I don't think that applies in this case because, again, this woman was not only throwing Christmas trees, but was award-winningly throwing Christmas trees. But there's an interesting point to be made here, which is that, just because a person has a disability, that doesn't mean they have to be like constantly performing it and like showing it to the world and, proving themselves. People have good days and bad days. I think that's a very valid point to make. We shouldn't be ableist. That being said, again, this woman was tossing Christmas trees. It is also worth looking at the stats before we get all to bloody Benefits Britain bringing us down. I looked into the government stats, and in 2023, 3.6% of benefit expenditure was overpaid because of fraud and error, and 1.4% of benefit expenditure was underpaid due to fraud and error. So it's a minuscule amount of money that's being lost on fraud. Although I am fascinated by the people who are doing causing fraud to be underpaid? I don't know what kind of scam that is. Maybe that's employers refusing to pay out, who knows. Meanwhile, large corporations continue to pay little or no tax altogether. So where's the real problem here, folks? But the question for you is, do you sympathize with this tree-tossing queen? Because, I'm sorry, it's kind of giving iconic. It's so ridiculously agile. Yes, she was claiming, you know, almost $1 million from this insurance company. But do any of us really sympathize with insurance companies? Are they ever really the good guys? They've got the money to spare. Okay, yes, she was defrauding the Irish government, but at the same time, it's very funny that she did this. And Irish people, they love the crack. You know what I mean? They love a good joke. So maybe it balances out. Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if you're actively engaged in benefits fraud. We won't tell. Plus, also, if you have any other suggestions of funny stories or interesting stories you'd like us to cover here on Scroll Deep, let us know in the comments down below, because we do read your comments. And also, just, you know, if you have any funny comments to make about this, we love reading those as well. Our audience is very funny, I will say. Until next time, I'll leave you with, it's not one I cite often, Rule 56 of Scroll Deep. It's crazy we wrote this ahead of time, but if you are doing benefits fraud, try to avoid tossing trees. That is Rule 56 of Scroll Deep. We very rarely blow the dust off that one. To be fair, we don't know that while she was tossing the tree, she wasn't like, ah!